comment. Thank you. I just spoke with the House Oversight Committee, Majority and Minority Council. I answered every question, was pleased to discuss my public service, and it was a thorough process, and I'm glad I answered every question.
Was there an effort to disguise President Biden's condition?
Absolutely not.
When the Biden White House stripped 440 White House hard passes from independent journalism, they were attempting to control the narrative.
That first year of the presidency, 78 executive orders he signed by hand. 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an Autopen.
We found that of the 51 clemency warrants issued during the Biden presidency, over half, 32 in total, were signed with an Autopen.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so crazy?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our citizens. We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
But on day 5, the biggest scandal in American history. You did such a great job, Joe. You did such a great job. You answered every last question. Oh, Joe. Hands behind your back. They should have put that heifer in handcuffs. Elderly abuse. They should have put that heifer in handcuffs. Dr. Jill. You know, and people ought to be put in handcuffs. I'm not lying. And plugged the machine up in the wall and just went to signing everything. He didn't know what was going on. Asleep. Doo-doo stains, crack cocaine, all in the White House. A gun on the dresser, one in the chamber. Somebody in the restroom getting her hands. Unbelievable. The other lady in the room, she in there laughing. I was the last one in the room. I tell you, man, people ought to be arrested. People ought to be put in handcuffs. The biggest scandal in American history, and it's all coming out. It is all coming out. And I told y'all, be ready. We're going to be covering this bad boy. And it all makes sense, too. Remember the bombshell report? Oh, we cannot do a meeting. You cannot meet with the president. We can't get him on the phone. On week one, they couldn't get him on the phone. It's all coming out. And come to find out, the Autopen was deployed on day 5.
When the president signs, he communicates his assent and endorsement of the action he takes. The Autopen is a device that signs the president's signature to a document. The Oversight Project, of which I am a board member, has discovered that the Biden White House deployed an Autopen to affix President Biden's signature to pardons, prison commutations, executive orders, and presidential proclamations. The Oversight Project's research has found that the Biden White House first deployed the Autopen to affix President Biden's signature to a proclamation on day 5.
Did y'all hear it?
Autopen to affix President Biden's signature to a proclamation on day 5 of his administration, and that there were at least 3 different Autopen signatures in use throughout President Biden's tenure in the White House. In June 2022, the Biden White House began deploying the Autopen to sign clemency warrants and executive orders. Autopen use skyrocketed from there. We found that of the 51 clemency warrants issued during the Biden presidency, over half, 32 in total, were signed with an Autopen.
Remember, they were like, "Sir, did you know about this?" And no, I didn't sign that. I don't even know what that says. I'm telling y'all, man, people ought to be put in handcuffs. People ought to be put in handcuffs.
And these include some of the most controversial acts of clemency of the Biden presidency, including death row commutations and the preemptive pardons of members of the Biden family, Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and more that were issued in the final days of the Biden presidency. We reviewed President Biden's schedule and his publicly available media and were unable to find any record of President Biden's personally approving these actions, such as a statement issued by the president himself to reporters.
Yeah, so there you have it. They're looking.
I'm just but they're going to get away with it. I mean, there's never justice to anybody in Congress. There's never, meanwhile, the little guy messes up on his taxes. He's got 2 years in jail. We see the J6 doing 4 years in a gulag. I mean, I'm just so tired of the tears of justice. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah. Little guy mess up on his taxes. He got to go to jail. I tell you, man, politicians laughing to the bank, people laughing to the bank, hands in the cookie jar. I tell you, man, people ought to be put in handcuffs, man. Term limits and handcuffs. Just can't make it up. But what's going on, family? I couldn't wait to get into this video. People they're getting busted, man. We're exposing the biggest scandal in American history. Make sure you spread the word, share the video, hit that like button for your boy. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Join the family. We are family on this channel. Ain't nobody a fan, a subscriber, none of that. We are family on this channel, man. And we're going to keep calling this crap out. And I want to read some of these comments. Treason. I don't take that term lightly. Anyone involved in the Autopen should be arrested for treason. The White House doctor should be jailed for lying to the people in Congress. They should examine the bank accounts of everyone in that administration. Like I've been saying. Why can't Congress pass a law prohibiting using Autopen by the president for official documents other than for mass letters? So sick of the lies and the lack of prosecution for treason in Washington, D.C. around the country. All roads will lead to Obama. Oh man, makes Watergate looks like a petty crime. In other words, Obama was serving a third term. That's what you're telling us. Someone on another post is credited for this quote. I can't wait for nothing to be done and no one to be held accountable. What a waste of resources and our money. I absolutely do not believe anyone will be held accountable. Please wake me up when someone is held accountable and put in jail. For years, we said that Biden wasn't making the decisions during his term. Now they act like it's a big surprise. We all saw it. Yeah. No one will be held accountable. All it is blah, 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 no action. Yeah. Let's get into this, man.
Not 2, not 3, not 4. Yes, 4. Biden White House officials are called in by James Comer to answer for the Autopen scandal. This is getting good. It's starting. They're getting more narrow. They're bringing people in, and they will rat each other out, and we will show you some of their legal documents, some of the workings of how this works. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. As we look at what's being called the greatest scandal in modern American history, the Autopen scandal. Who was the president? Who was making the decisions for so many signed documents that were positive that Biden couldn't have read them all, so we don't know if he was in charge or not. Here's Comer on Fox News.
The House Oversight Committee is investigating the cover-up of Biden's cognitive decline as 4 former Biden aides agreed to transcribed interviews. Joining me now is the
hold on before we move on. We're going to hear from that lady on the left. Neera Tanden is one of the White House members of
and that's who I played in the beginning of this video.
Biden aides, who has prepared a legal document, and I'll read that at the end.
Overseeing it all, Kentucky Congressman and the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I want to get your take on something the president said this week, and that is saying we're looking into who was in control of the Autopen, whether it be Lisa Monaco or someone else. Now, Lisa Monaco, of course, was the deputy attorney general. What do you know about this?
Well, we know that there are sources that say that she had a big impact on making decisions as to which documents would be placed into the Autopen. What we've identified first are the 4 employees that we believe manually put documents into the Autopen, pressed the power button, and signed Joe Biden's name on them.
Guilty.
Next batch of people that we're going to bring in are people like Ron Klain, and we'll get to the names that the president has mentioned as well. Everyone that we've...
Comer, we need to just put people in handcuffs, sir. We need to just put people in handcuffs. We ain't got to bring nobody in, and we need to start putting people in handcuffs.
Sent notice to that we expect them to testify, has agreed to testify thus far, except the doctor, and I've subpoenaed him. You can come in voluntarily, and things work out a whole lot better than if you have to come in via subpoena. So I think this investigation is progressing, and all the concerns that President Trump raised will be addressed in these transcribed interviews and depositions.
I mean, I've got the letter from 2024 from Dr. O'Connor pertaining to Joe Biden's health, and there's absolutely no mention of any cognitive decline, and there's no mention of any prostate cancer, which, of course, the Bidens released and told the public after the Robert Hur tapes were released, which was obviously a tape showing Biden's cognitive decline. I want to get your take on that and what you make of that, and also this new information that we've got that there were 3 different Autopens, Autopen A, B, and C.
Yeah, that's accurate. And, there's more information that's coming out daily. Luckily, we have a lot of former employees like Jean-Pierre who are coming out with books and interviews that are kind of painting a picture that Joe Biden really didn't know what was going on in his White House. This is important to our investigation because there were a lot of executive orders that were signed using the Autopen. There's really no excuse to use the Autopen on days when you're in the White House. Many of the documents...
The question is, who didn't use the Autopen? That thing was, they had 3 different Autopen machines, and they've already named at least 7 people that fed documents into the Autopen machine. That thing was just going burr, Autopen go burr, burr all day. We've discovered 0 point energy. That thing was whirling so fast, it was enough to generate a turbine. It was like hydroelectric electricity. You could power a small city of Fresno in the San Joaquin Valley with just
that were signed with the Autopen were days that Joe Biden was actually in the White House. It's hard to explain that with respect to the doctor. If you'll remember, Joe Biden did an interview several years ago and said he had cancer. The White House quickly issued a statement saying, he misspoke. Now, how many people do you know in the history of the world that have misspoke saying they had cancer when they really didn't? So, there's evidence out there that would suggest that there's been a cover-up with respect to his cancer for many years, just based on Joe Biden's own words. So we've got a lot of evidence. There's more and more sources that are coming forward. The key to a good congressional investigation, Maria, is having whistleblowers. I don't know if you would classify Jean-Pierre and people like Buttigieg as whistleblowers, but they're issuing statements and doing interviews that are very incriminating to Joe Biden, very incriminating to Joe Biden's doctor, and raise a lot of questions as to who was authorizing the use of that Autopen.
Well, I mean, Mr. Chairman, for 4 years, we all questioned some of these policies coming out of the White House that were so clearly anti-American. For example, leaving a wide open border and an unvetted border rather than actually understanding and knowing who's coming into the country. Millions of gotaways, 350 people encountered on the terrorist watch list. $7 trillion in spending leading to 40-year high inflation. Do you believe that there was a group of people who were actually pushing these anti-American policies and Joe Biden was unaware of it?
I believe it's very possible. If you look at Joe Biden's career, when he was on the Senate floor, he gave speeches, encouraging a border, a tight border.
This goes into what Trump has already said, too, that he said Biden did not go for any of this stuff. He said he knew Biden. He watched Biden. He said Biden wasn't for open borders. He wasn't for all this spending. In fact, he'd only campaigned against it for most of his life. So while it's hard for me to believe that he wasn't aware of what was happening at the border, especially with enough questioning about it, it doesn't mean that he signed the actual documents that helped get all this stuff through under his presidential orders, executive orders.
Encouraged, a process to get immigration. But when he became president, just out of the blue, the Autopen started signing executive orders that would allow an open border. And you have liberals in the Democrat Party that have risen the ranks through the bureaucracies here in Washington, D.C., that believe that we need to fundamentally change the appearance of America, that America's too white, that we need more immigrants to come in. We need more people that would end up being registered Democrats. That's a fact. So the possibility is there that there were deep state bureaucrats in the White House that were just using that Autopen to sign major legislation and major executive orders that Joe Biden had no knowledge of and never would have supported if you look at his previous 3 decades of public service.
Okay, so we have a motive that he's saying. We've heard Chuck Schumer say this, that they want illegals to become citizens to vote, voting citizens. And then you have an end game of Autopen having signed something. What you don't have is all of the evidence and facts in between, which this investigation will pull out. And you do it by going into one of these aides and you nail them to the wall. And then they start ratting each other out. You start giving them plea deals, just like Fani Willis did with those 18 RICO cases against Trump's people, Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell and all these people. You give them plea deals that if they agree to rat each other out, you give them immunity. And then suddenly you start getting real names and real actual crimes lined up. That's what they're doing right now. They're just starting the process of lining up trying to find out who is the compliant whistleblower who will provide all the facts that you need. Not invent facts, but feel comfortable to finally release the truth.
No, that's just incredible. I mean, just to be clear, I think most people would say they support lots of diversity and different ethnicities in America. What I'm really talking about is an unvetted situation in a world where China is on the march, Iran is on the march, and Russia is invading countries. You want to know that there aren't terrorists coming in, and you've got 350 people on the terrorist watch list who were encountered at the open border.
We have Iranian illegals that came in under Biden, and half of them were gotaways. So at least 350 of them on a watch list. Now, this is Laureen Trent. Let's get going on holding accountable the corrupt politicians. Let's not forget the Autopen. And this is after a Trump recent post on Twitter. What Biden did to this country should never be forgotten. And now we're going to go back to that Neera Tanden. Remember I said keep an eye on that first of those 4 aides that touched the Autopen. This lady is under questioning. Neera Tanden prepared opening remarks to House Oversight. These are the big highlights here, and we'll look at her document down below, her official document. My cooperation should not be taken to mean that I think the committee's investigation is a worthy subject. That's one quote. She says the Autopen system was, quote, inherited from prior administrations, unquote. So now she's blaming previous administrations. And Biden was, quote, in command as president. So she's been briefed already by her lawyers to know what to say. Okay, that's already something we know. Opening statement of Neera Tanden, Committee Oversight. This is today. I am Neera Tanden. I am here in response to the request made by Chairman Comer in his letter to me dated May 22nd, and I participate in this transcribed interview. As the committee staff knows, my counsel and I have been willing to voluntarily cooperate with the committee from the time I received this letter. I am here to answer your questions about the Biden administration. And then that's the quote, that she doesn't think it's worthy of oversight. I do not believe it is. Indeed, millions of Americans wonder why this committee has conducted no oversight of the current administration on topics far more worthy of the committee's time. She wants them to run it on Trump. These topics include the sale of a Qatari jet to the White House. Lady, we just want to talk about the Autopen. This is deflection. President Trump's meme coin and cryptocurrency adventures. Okay, this is another one that the Democrats are going to try to impeach Trump on. Nothing to do with the Autopen. Thank you for the deflection, lady. Just the facts, ma'am. The lawless attacks on our universities and prominent law firms, and the excess of ICE officers wearing masks as they detain, sometimes with the use of force per people lawfully in the United States. In this country at this time, there's truly a need for genuine oversight of the executive branch and its overreach. But instead, this committee is devoting its resources to the last administration instead of the current one. Yeah, we're not going to move on from the scandal of the century. Let me discuss my service in the White House. In May 2021, President Biden named me a senior advisor with a portfolio that included healthcare issues, among others. In October 2021, I was named staff secretary and senior advisor. As staff secretary, I was responsible for handling the flow of documents to and from the president. I was also authorized to direct that Autopen signatures he affixed to certain categories, be affixed to certain categories of documents. That is the documents that Biden didn't know about. That would be one category. We had a system for authorizing the use of the Autopen that I inherited from prior administrations. We employed the system throughout my tenure. So I'm curious about what that system for authorizing is. Did it include briefing Biden, clarifying with Biden, him calling for the Autopen? Those are the things that we're going to shake out in testimony. And we're going to continue, guys. If you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you subscribe, because we're going to continue with all this Autopen stuff as this investigation goes. You don't want to miss any of this. In May 2023, I was named head of the President's Domestic Policy Council. From that point forward, I no longer served as the role of staff secretary. I was no longer responsible for the overall flow of documents to and from the president. And I no longer had any responsibilities in connection with the Autopen. As head of domestic policy, I had periodic discussions with President Biden on a range of domestic policy issues. I had no experience in the White House that would provide any reason to question his command as president. He was in charge. Oh, so all these mistakes and disasters was because he was president. I'm prepared to answer your questions on the topics you have provided that are within the scope of your inquiry. Good, because all of your slams against Trump are not within the scope of this inquiry. So look, she served between 2021 and 2023, and that's where they'll have to conduct their investigation with her. We will keep you posted on this. We're
a disgrace, man. I'll tell you. Handcuffs, man. I'm just ready to see handcuffs. Accountability, man. I really am. You know, biggest scandal in American history. I want to see somebody walked out, man. Pardons and signed. I just, it should be null and void. What a complete disgrace, man. But huge shout out to my brother Doug. My brother's healing up well. I see he's going through that healing process. He's looking great. And y'all know they love my channel. We love each other, man. I'm in contact with a lot of amazing creators because of you guys, and we got some big collabs coming up soon on the channel, so y'all be ready for that. But a huge shout out to my brother Doug. Y'all can check him out at Doug in Exile. Did an amazing job. And we're going to stay, told you, we're going to be bringing the best updates on this entire investigation, this entire hearing. You know, we just seen in the what's it called hearing, no Democrats showed up. No one showed up. That's how you know this is bad, man. You know, and it's all coming out. All I want to see is handcuffs now. I just want to see handcuffs. Accountability. Someone held accountable. That's it. Let me know what y'all think. I love y'all. If you are new here, like I said, join the family. Hit that subscribe button and notification button so you don't miss a new video. And we're going to continue to call it out for what it is. I love y'all. God bless you all and your family. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace and love, you guys.